Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Nitai Gaur Chandra, Jaya Nitai Gaur Chandra, Nitai Gaur Chandra, Jaya Nitai Gaur Chandra. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Sharanam Sankirtan ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Nashtaprayeshva Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha. Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, Dhritarashtra quits home. Text number 28. Athodīcīṁ diśaṁ yātu svair ajñāta-gatir bhavān rvāk prāyaśaḥ kālaḥ puṁsāṁ guṇa-vikarṣaṇaḥ athodīcīṁ diśaṁ yātu svair ajñāta-gatir bhavān rvāk prāyaśaḥ kālaḥ puṁsāṁ guṇa-vikarṣaṇaḥ athodīcīṁ diśaṁ yātu svair ajñāta-gatir bhavān rvāk prāyaśaḥ kālaḥ puṁsāṁ guṇa-vikarṣaṇaḥ
athodīcīṁ diśaṁ yātu svair ajñāta-gatir bhavān rvāk prāyaśaḥ kālaḥ puṁsāṁ guṇa-vikarṣaṇaḥ
athodīcīṁ diśaṁ yātu svair ajñāta-gatir bhavān rvāk prāyaśaḥ kālaḥ puṁsāṁ guṇa-vikarṣaṇaḥ. Mataji. Athodīcīṁ diśaṁ yātu svair ajñāta-gatir bhavān rvāk prāyaśaḥ kālaḥ puṁsāṁ guṇa-vikarṣaṇaḥ athodīcīṁ diśaṁ yātu svair ajñāta-gatir bhavān rvāk prāyaśaḥ kālaḥ puṁsāṁ guṇa-vikarṣaṇaḥ. Word to word meaning. Atha, therefore. Udīcīṁ, northern side. Diśam, direction. Yātu, please go away. Svai, by your relatives. Ajñāta, without knowledge. Gatiḥ, movements. Bhavān, of yourself. Itaḥ, after this. Arvāk, will usher in. Prāyaśaḥ, generally. Kālaḥ, time. Puṁsāṁ, of men. Guṇa, qualities. Vikarṣaṇaḥ, diminishing. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Please, therefore, leave for the north immediately, without letting your relatives know. For soon that time will approach which will diminish the good qualities of men. Purport. One can compensate for a life of frustration by becoming a dhira, or living home for good without communicating with relatives. And Vidura advised his eldest brother to adopt this way without delay, because very quickly the age of Kali was approaching. A conditioned soul is already degraded by the material association, And still, in the Kali-yuga, the good qualities of a man will deteriorate to the lowest standard. He was advised to leave home before Kali-yuga approached because the atmosphere which was created by Vidura, his valuable instructions on the facts of life, would fade away due to the influence of the age which was fast approaching. To become Narottam or a first class human being, depending completely on the Supreme Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, is not possible for any ordinary man. It is stated in Bhagavad-gītā 7:28 that a person who is completely relieved of all taints of sinful acts can alone depend on the Supreme Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the personality of Godhead. Dhritarashtra was advised by Vidura at least to become a dhira in the beginning if it were impossible for him to become a sannyasi or a narottam. Persistently endeavoring on the line of self-realization helps a person to rise to the conditions of a narottam from the stage of a dhira. The dhira stage is attained after prolonged practice of the yoga system. But by the grace of Vidura, one can attain the stage immediately simply by willing to adopt the means of the dhira stage, which is the preparatory stage for sannyas. The sannyas stage is the preparatory stage of Paramhamsa or first great devotee of the Lord. Om Ajñāta-gatir Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta-padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Kam karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna, I welcome all of you for this morning Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. So we are reading today from Canto 1, Chapter 13, Dhritarashtra quits home, text number 28. So I'd like to seek blessings of all the devotees before I attempt to speak something on this. As far as the verse goes, I'm not qualified to speak on it. Prabhupada is describing dhira, sannyas, paramhamsa, all these words. So ideally, someone who has been practicing renunciation would be an ideal match to discuss on this. Or ideally, Prabhuji would have been. So yesterday, Prabhuji gave a detailed description of three types of transcendentalists: dhira, narottam, and So Dhira, Sannyasi, and then Paramamsa. What's described here? So these three types of transcendental exposure described in detail. So here, finally, after giving heavy instructions to Dhritarashtra, Vidura is giving him the final instruction that he needs to move out of the kingdom and head towards the north. So I'll just give a brief of how this particular situation is staged. So Vidura had come back from his pilgrimage before he had, after he had left when Duryodhana insulted him. So Vidura was very outspoken while dealing with Dhritarashtra especially. He happened to be his brother, his counselor, his minister, his guide. So on every front, and his very good friend, because every time he gave an advice or instruction that was in the best interest of Dhritarashtra. But unfortunately, Dhritarashtra could never pay heed to his instructions or could understand him. So Prabhupada describes in Bhagavad-gītā that because he was physically blind, he was born physically blind, but he was spiritually blind also. And because of which anytime any good instructions came to him, he could never take it and work on those instructions. So very first instruction that Vidura had given him was to give up Duryodhana. Obviously, for any father to give up his son would not be an easy task. But Vidura had explained, like, if you don't give up Duryodhana, he is going to be cause of the destruction of the whole dynasty. So even when he was born, Vidura tried to counsel Dhritarashtra and tell him that he has to give up Duryodhana. But then Dhritarashtra could not act then. And when Pandavas were back, obviously Dhritarashtra in any way was not qualified to sit on the throne. And Pandu did help, because of which he became the king. So, and the ideal heirs, the Pandavas were the ideal heirs for the throne anyway. But since then, Dhritarashtra, along with his son, both of them were involved in destroying the Pandavas since the time they returned back to Hastinapur. Since then, so he could not take Vidura's word seriously, and then we see how the whole dynasty was destroyed. Not just the dynasty. All the kings of the world were involved in the war. So 64 crore people dying. Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana alone were responsible for this. So Bhima had taken this vow of killing all the 100 sons. And two of the terrible vows that he took was when Dushyasan was trying to strip naked Draupadi. So Duryodhana had shown him his thigh. He had raised his lower cloth and shown his thigh to Dushyasan, strip her naked. And Bhima, he took a vow that I am going to destroy your thighs. I'll beat down your thighs. And second vow he took was, I will drink blood of Dushyasan. So he did fulfill both the vows, and he killed all the 100 Kauravas single-handedly. So this is all because of Duryodhana and his envy for the Pandavas. So his personification of Kali, Duryodhana, because there is envy and there is anger, which he displayed all the time. On the other hand, the Pandavas were endowed with all good qualities, and they are liked by everyone, including all these kingsmen in the Kuru kingdom. But he felt that he why was he not glorified, or why was he not accepted the way Pandavas were accepted everywhere? No. So owing to his envy and anger, he could never make it, to the level of the Pandavas. So everyone was trying to stop this battle because it would lead to terrible destruction. But then, and all the kings of the world decided either of the parties. Of course, the numerical count on the side of Kauravas was huge, 11 Akshayonis compared to what was with Pandavas. And Pandavas were in exile, so they had no scope of. They're coming back from exile and then directly into the war. So there was no scope that they had any chances of winning the war. So even after giving so many good advices by all the senior members, Duryodhana was still confident that I am anyways going to win. Even when they went to Krishna, he got the 10,000 Narayani Sena, and he thought that this is going to add to the power. And even in terms of the people that were there on Duryodhana's side, Bhishma was practically immortal. He could die at his will. Ashwatthama was practically immortal. He is one of the Chiranjeevis. Drona was very powerful. And many others. Karna was equal combat for Arjuna. So, and Pandavas were in exile, so what scope they had for winning the war, or how much power did they have? So everyone was giving good advice, but Duryodhana thought that I am anyways going to make it. We are going to win. So at the last moment also, just before the war, Vidura still advised Dhritarashtra that you give up on Duryodhana. You still have a chance. Give him up and send him in exile. So that was his instruction. So it may sound very heavy, like Vidura is bent upon moving out Duryodhana, but he was the cause of all the destruction and all the mayhem that happened. So because of his attachment to his son, he could not accept the good words from Vidura. And finally when this happened, so Duryodhana said, who is this person to instruct my father? He is a maid servant. And how can a servant instruct or give advice like this? And then he used to Vidura and insulted him. And one of the verses it says that he just left him with his breath. So after so much of insult, Vidura decided to move out of the palace. So there are two people who did not take part in the Mahabharata war. One was Balramji, because he had a soft corner for Duryodhana, and second one was Vidura. So two people who did not take part in this battle. So we can see this as how Vidura converted his misfortune into good fortune, like moving out of the whole situation and completely detached. He got into his spiritual journey. First he met Uddhava, and Uddhava said that Krishna has left for the spiritual world, and he has kept some very important instructions. But Uddhava happens to be younger than Vidura, so just in order not to transgress the etiquettes, he did not instruct Vidura. Vidura asked him like what were instructions of Krishna. So Uddhava said Krishna instructed Maitreya as well. So you could meet Maitreya Rishi, and he will share with you the instructions. So that's how Vidura happened to meet Maitreya Muni. And after detailed spiritual discussions, and Vidura and Maitreya Muni giving him all the knowledge, and all the inquiries from Vidura were clarified. And that's where Vidura decides that now I have to go back to Hastinapur. So purpose of his return was not to stay in the palace again as the minister or with any of the designations. He just came back as a renunciate now. And that's how we can see that how is he able to instruct or he is able to speak so heavily to Dhritarashtra is because he is no way connected to the Kuru kingdom now. He is not their minister, he is not accepting any salary, nothing. He is an independent person now, and as a saint, no, he is trying to instruct and try to pull Dhritarashtra out of his material mire. So Dhritarashtra, although he lost all his sons, grandsons, and we see how every time he tried destroying the Pandavas, no, despite that it's quite shameless, like he's still continuing to stay in the palace. So much so that when Pandavas came back, no, and he was burning with anger, no, that Bhima had killed all the 100 sons, no, and we know how he wanted to embrace Bhima, no, and he wanted to kill him to take revenge. So even till that point of time, he was not in his sanity, no, that everything's done now and dharma is established, and still he wanted to take revenge, no. And even after this incident, so where Krishna arranged for the metal idol of Bhima, and he powdered it, no, by embracing it, no. And after that, he still continues to stay in the kingdom, no. So quite shameless on his part, in spite of doing so many things and trying to destroy the Pandavas time and again, he continued to stay there. And that's why Vidura in one verse happens to say that, no, you are eating the remnants left by Bhima and still you are continuing to stay here, no. So all these instructions of Vidura to Dhritarashtra were infallible, no. So finally he's trying to instruct him that you leave this place, no. Why are you so attached? No, already so much destruction has happened. You have not learnt your lessons yet, no. You are trying to hold on to the kingdom even after the throne has gone to someone else now, no. And then when he could not do it as the king, then he tried to do it through his sons, no, with all his attempts. And when all of them were destroyed, still he is continuing to be there, no. In this the Varnavat episode, how he arranged for all the Pandavas to be burnt along with their mother, no, in the house of Shalak. So Vidura is trying to count upon all the bad incidents that happened for which Dhritarashtra alone was responsible. And he's trying to tell that at least now you need to move out of here. How long will you remain sticking here? So this kind of presentation in the Bhagavatam, of course this is a real incident that happened. This actually portrays our situation of how hopeful we are in exploiting the material nature and trying to enjoy the material nature, no, all the facilities for material enjoyment that we are trying, and hope against hope. So here obviously Dhritarashtra is old as well, no, so he's telling how long would you live, no, to enjoy even if you get the kingdom. So like that, even with age, we still have plans and hopes that we'll get some material enjoyment here, no. But the person who is situated in knowledge, he gives up this tendency and he recognizes the feature of the material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. No matter how much ever we plan and would want to enjoy here, all our plans will be thwarted with time. So when one understands the nature of this material world and the temporariness or the temporality or the flickering nature of the enjoyment, then one tries to become dhira, no, a sober man. So we see in this verse of Bhagavad-gītā, no, Matra sparshāstu kaunteya shita ushna sukha dukkhada agama apayana nityastam tidikshasva bharata. So sober person is one who is undisturbed by the happenings of this world. No. Anything good happens, he is not overwhelmed by it. Anything bad happens, still he is not overwhelmed. No. He is in knowledge that all these are temporary situations of the world and he is not disturbed by those. So one comes to the platform of dhira when he understands the situation of this material world. No. So he remains composed, peaceful, undisturbed in any situation of this world. So we see example of Jada Bharat, how undisturbed he was, no matter what all situations came. The way he was treated by his family members. So he didn't renounce that place externally. He was still staying there in the same house, but he was not disturbed by any of the things that were happening. He was eating all the remnants. He was made into a scarecrow and so many things. So because he was focused on Krishna and he didn't take this thing seriously, he could remain on the dhira platform. And later on we see how he instructs King Rahuguna. So dhira is a stage before stage of sannyas. And sannyas means one becomes totally free from all the material attachments. So there is a term called as is socially dead. There are no social connections, there are no social obligations. He is beyond all the obligations that an ordinary person would be obliged to. Taking care of parents or taking care of children, wife, relatives, any of this. So he's done with all these material duties, and his only duty is to engage in service of Krishna with his mind, body and words. So in Brihad Bhagavatamrit, the details of Gopakumar, how he goes to the spiritual world. So when he is wanting to leave the material world or in his spiritual journey, Mayadevi tries to allure him by saying that you haven't enjoyed me yet. There's still a lot of scope. Why are you wanting to leave? So when I was hearing this lecture by one Prabhupada disciple, so I remembered one interview of Ayendra Prabhu that I had read, one of Prabhupada's foremost disciples. So he had started a spiritual journey. He had seen devotees doing Harinam and he had started chanting. So one day his wife got him a copy of Ishopanishad, and he read the complete book, and he read Bhagavad-gītā also. So he happened to visit one temple, ISKCON temple, and he asked them like, what is the process to, if I want to join here. So they said, you can just come. You bring your belongings, whatever you have, and you come and you stay with us. So he wanted to experiment for 7 days. So before that, he got a copy of Bhagavad-gītā. So he went back to his father's farm, and he was from a countryside. So he stayed there, and then he read the Bhagavad-gītā. And after 7 days, he decided to move. So he asked his wife, would you want to come with me? I'm moving into the temple. I'm not going to come back. So the statement which Mayadevi makes here to Gopakumar, that you have not. So his wife, she had not read any of the books. She just got the copy of Ishopanishad. She held on to his ankles while he was leaving. And she said, don't go back to Godhead. I have not finished enjoying you yet. And because he had read Ishopanishad, So when he heard that statement, he says, I felt like a slab of meat, no, on the table, dining table, and a tigress is about to devour it. No. So this was his realization after reading Ishopanishad. So he moved ahead on his journey and then never to come back. And from there we see how, no, I'll just be short there. So how he did 14 hours of Sankirtan, no, book distribution and Kirtan every day. And that went on for many, many years, no, till the time he landed up in Vrindavan. So almost 1975 to 1986, no, 11 to 12 years of heavy service to Prabhupada. And obviously, many, many realizations and many dreams of Prabhupada, many dreams of Krishna. So that one decision where he would have been pulled back. So here in the verse we see Vidura is instructing Dhritarashtra that leave for the north immediately without letting your relatives know. No. So he's very specific, because then again, no, the desires that have developed that now to leave from here, if at all some attachment remains, and then is pulled back, no, because of that, no, then he will have to wait, and then again he would be caught up. So same thing here, Andhra Prabhu, he didn't, no, he just asked her, if you want to join me, you can also come along with me. No, like Prabhupada always wanted his wife Radharani Day to assist him in his service. No, but she was least bothered. No, I mean, he never got the assistance which he could have got, and he could have done a lot even before he took up Vanaprastha. So Mayadevi is telling to Gopakumar that no, there's still some scope. No, why are you leaving? No. So we see this verse in Bhagavad-gītā, Daiviyesha gunamai mama maya duratya. So this energy of the Lord, it's insurmountable. One cannot overcome, no, Maya on one's own accord. Mamevaya prapadyante mayametam tarantite. So when one takes shelter of the Lord, no, then one can overcome Maya. So Maya is alluring Gopakumar and no, to stay back. And very interesting, Gopakumar is praying to Maya Devi, no, that please bless me so that I can be engaged in service of Lord. So we know, like Maya Devi, the form is Subhadra, no, who is sister of Krishna. No. So let me engage in your brother's service. That's how we praise. So Prabhupada gives analogy of the same Maya who acts as Mahamaya or Yoga Maya. No. So he gives analogy that the same police of the state, no, if someone is a criminal, he is dealt with in a certain way. He is punished by the police, and the police is keeping a watch over him all the time. And someone who is following or abiding by the laws of the state, no, the police is still there, but he is carefree. No, he is not worried about what will the police do to me. And all the more if the citizen, the common citizen, has to meet the king, so the police will escort, no, this citizen to the king. No. So the same Maya Devi, who is keeping one bound to this material world, if one takes shelter of her the way Gopakumar took. No. So he's saying, please allow me, bless me so that I can become engaged in service to Krishna. No. And that should be attitude of devotee. So Maya transforms her feature wherein she engages or she escorts this devotee to Krishna. So finally, so in this today's verse, we see about Vidura instructing him to move towards north. So I find in Bhagavatam, in other places also, like Dhruva Maharaj, he left for north, that is Badrikashram. Narada boy, he left towards north. There's a detailed description of how, while he was passing through the cities, while he was moving, there are so many allurements and so many distractions till the time he reached the destination. So, and here ahead in this chapter, we'll see how the Pandavas also, as soon as Yudhishthir Maharaj comes to know that Vidura has left, Dhritarashtra has left, Gandhari has left, and he's totally in despair. No, where has my uncle gone? And as soon as he comes to know that they have left for north, Yudhishthir Maharaj immediately he starts moving towards north, and then everyone else follows, including Draupadi. So it's called as the great departure, the Mahaprasthan. So I was just wondering, in the purport there's not much detail about why a particular direction north. So in the north, it specifically points to moving into Himalayas, where the climate is very extreme. But a place where there is solitude and one can do one's meditation, or one can be completely focused on one's Krishna consciousness. There's no distractions there. And most importantly, one will get association of saintly people and their instructions by which one can advance in one's Krishna consciousness. So that was the idea where people, while retiring in their last stages of life, they would move in the north. Again, the same thing where Vidura is telling him that without letting your relatives know. So when people would move into the north, those of you who have gone to Charadham Yatra, Badrinath, Kedarnath, we go for a few days. So if someone has to go for a prolonged period of time, it's understood that that person might not come back, the way the situations are so extreme there. So if one has not informed his relatives, so they would not know the whereabouts of this person. Like here also in this chapter, Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking Vidura, like where all you have, where have you been all this time? Or where all you visited, which all places you went for pilgrimage, and all the details. So they weren't aware about where Vidura was for the last 30 years. So like that. So for a saintly person, Himalaya happens to be a beautiful place of pilgrimage where so many personalities, saintly personalities reside. And then one can remain focused on or have a one-pointed attention on the spiritual goal. No other duties or no other obligations to fulfill. One more example that I had read about was one another disciple of Prabhupada, Srila Gaur Govind Swami. So he, a very ideal example, obviously, is not an ordinary conditioned living entity, directly from one of the associates of Prabhupada from the spiritual world. So he was into family life and a school teacher, and the description about his childhood is like he was so attached to his deity Gopalji. Since his childhood he was engaged in serving the deities. And at the age of 7, at the age of 8, he had read Bhagavad-gītā, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and that was his mother would read out Bhagavatam to him in his childhood. Like the thing that he would sleep with was a copy of Bhagavatam on his chest. So why I am telling this is, the latter part, how he was able to detach himself from this material world. The preparation part was in his childhood, uh, how he was uh, spiritually taken care of. So his two uncles, they were, one of them was Kirtaniya and other one was taking care of the deities, and that's how he would assist both of them in serving the Gopalji deity and doing kirtan all the time. So much so that of course he agreed for marriage on the request of his mother, no? And on the day of his marriage also he was sitting in one corner and he was chanting Hare Krishna. So he was totally detached from the material world, but as a request of his mother he decided to enter family life and discharge all the duties therein. But the most amazing part is at the age of 45 he decided to retire from family life on his own. So one fine night, he, without letting his family members know, he just took a copy of Bhagavad-gītā, some notebook and pen, and he moved out. And while in family life, along with his wife, he would go to Himalayas, he would go to various spiritual places for pilgrimage, and that's what his vacations were, school vacations. So when he left, there's a description. So on the outskirts of the village, one of his relatives, his mother's sister, so he met her for the last time before leaving, and then she was like, "You can wait here. Why are you leaving? No, you can stay here. No problem. You can be here and practice your bhakti." No. So again, just like Mahadevi was alluring Gopakumar, this relative was wanting to pull him back. And then he traveled all throughout and he was going to different mathas. And this was his favorite thing, like when he would go with his family for a picnic, whichever matha he would go, Mayavadis or anywhere, he would debate with those people there, some of the Matadipatis there, and he would establish Bhagavad Dharma by discussing with them. So here also he was searching for a guru. He had already wore saffron robes, and then when he came to Krishna Balram temple, someone handed him over a copy of Back to Godhead magazine, and he saw Prabhupada's photo there, and he felt instant attraction to Prabhupada. And then he went in to meet, and Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj arranged for him to meet Prabhupada. And the first question that Prabhupada asked him was, would you like to take sannyas? So he understood that, how come he could know my heart? Like I was traveling throughout India searching for a genuine guru. And within a year, first initiation, second initiation, and Ram Navami of 1975, Prabhupada gave him sannyas. So this gives an indication how we should mold our lives. There are 2 points here. How not to get affected by the allurements of this material nature, and how to surrender to Krishna. So when one wants to lead a proper life, that comes with this opportunity of practicing bhakti, that is awarded in this human form. One learns to surrender unto Krishna. Just have one last point. Okay. Rupa Goswami mentions this principle of renunciation. He explains it in detail in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So there are 2 verses of what could be false renunciation and what is true renunciation. How devotees are renounced in particular. So he says, prapanchika taya buddhya hari sambandhi vastuna mumukshubhi parityago falgu vairagya katati. So when one rejects the thing that can be engaged in service to Krishna, no, he rejects those thinking that this could be cause of bondage, then that is false renunciation or falgu vairagya. No, like many of the impersonalist path or the yogi paths, people want to give up everything, thinking that this is not meant for my enjoyment, so I cannot use it. So they follow the path of tyag, where they have to give up everything. There's another verse which he explains, anasaktasya vishayan yatharam upayunjate nirbandha krishna sambandhe yukta vairagyam uchyate. So here he says devotees, they engage everything in Krishna's service. No. So when people, they see devotees using like Prabhupada, the way he built such huge temples like palaces, or traveling in cars, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would travel in Rolls Royce. So anyone would think, he's a renounced order person and he's enjoying like this. But he would travel in that car so that people will start following the car. Rolls Royce. Only the governor of Bengal had Rolls Royce at that point of time. So people would follow, and then he would come out of the car and start preaching that crowd. So Prabhupada also said that I'm ready to sit under a tree and preach, but how many people would come? But when he has built magnificent palaces like this, now people are wanting to come and see. And the whole purpose is that when they come, they will get to hear the holy names, they will get to hear instructions from the Bhagavad-gītā and Bhagavatam, and that's how they might take up all these instructions. So developing this mode of detachment from the object of senses. So a devotee in particular is not attached to any of these facilities. Like having a TV in the temple hall is a very innovative thing. None of the temples, at least in Pune, we don't have. So, but we are engaging it in Krishna's service. We are not using it to watch movies or anything like that. So we are engaging it in Krishna's service. So someone who is coming from outside with a traditional outlook, we say, or a big huge TV and many other facilities like that. So Vaishnavas know how to engage everything in Krishna's service, and Prabhupada especially, when people would point out like you're a sannyasi and you're traveling in car. So Prabhupada said, actually, this is nothing. This is not enough. You are providing a tin car. Ambassador from the spiritual world, he deserves. The disciples, if they would manage to, they would have given a car made of Prabhupada, and he deserved it. A representative of Krishna. Like the sannyasi in Udupi, when they wanted to offer a chariot made of gold and navratnas for Udupi Krishna, immediately the government, they intruded and they wanted to know, like why and they were asking questions, why do you want to offer this? So he said, when some ordinary person of this world, some president or some prime minister is visiting your country, you renovate the whole city, you renovate roads, you arrange for a special place for him to stay, and all these facilities you create for an insignificant person of this world. The Supreme Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, from whom everything comes. When we are offering a chariot, why does it pain to you? So Vaishnavas understand how to engage everything in Krishna's service, and that's the true spirit of renunciation. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It's already late.